You're about to listen to an archived episode of The Night Shift with Zeno Horoman. This is brought to you commercial-free by the Surfcast Podcast. If you're interested in more historical, educational, and entertaining surf fishing content, check out weekly episodes of the Surfcast Podcast available today on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and anywhere else you get your podcasts, including www.surfcastpodcast.com.
Hi guys, I'm back with another episode of Night Shift Podcast. My guest today is Joe D'Agostino from Joe Bags Tackle. He's a personal friend, a surfcaster, and a manufacturer. I've known Joe for a long time. You see him at the shows, and you've probably seen him in most of the favorite fishing spots, especially in the Northeast. So, Joe, welcome to the Night Shift Podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. I'm looking forward to it.
Joe, actually, was Joe's idea to talk about holdovers, and I'm going to be honest right up front. It's a subject I know absolutely nothing about. So this to me is a learning experience. I'm not going to say I know nothing about it, but it's been a while since I've done winter fishing, and we were just having a little pre-conversation before the podcast, and Joe was asking me about the Long Island, and my memories of fishing on Long Island were, you know, Long Island Sound, Lilco Plain, where there was a warm water outflow and some of the creeks and stuff. But that's mostly like, that was a winter fishery. And then there's an early fishing in the estuaries. But holdovers are really a different fishery, isn't it? I mean, that's like a solid year-round fishery if you can find them, right, Joe?
Yeah, it's 12 months, especially
Really?
here in New England, yeah. I mean, think about our fishing seasons, you know. It really starts when a lot of people start coming out of the woodworks, getting out of that cabin fever, I would say around April, right?
Right.
And, you know, the average weekend fisherman is probably going to go all the way till September, maybe October fishing. And then you get the people who are just hardcore, can't get enough, will go all the way into December. And what they've learned in December, they'll travel into January. They'll go into February. And then obviously March, which I think March is a prime time to really start targeting holdovers. And one of the things I've always loved about this particular type of fishing is that you are literally out there by yourself in most places. And, you know, if, like, everyone always wants to get away, I understand that. A lot of anglers have other life things, like we were talking about prior. They have work, they have their family, you have all these events and things with your family that take up your time. And getting out to go fishing, to me, is special. And I think it's special to a lot of anglers, or whether you're a surfcaster, boater, just being on the water, allowing yourself to have 4 to 6 hours or 2 hours, depending on where you live, to have that time to go fishing. And here in the Northeast, you know, New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, all the way up to Maine, right? Our fishing really kind of only is about 9 months. So that holdover striped bass fishery hasn't really taken off, but I know a lot of solid guys that have put in a lot of time over the years and have, like myself, have really dedicated those winter months to learning where these fish hold over, what type of lures will work for you, and having a wide variety of them to choose from to make sure that you are, and we'll talk about it later, like fan cast in a particular area to make sure you're targeting what type of bait species you're going to see in these winter months. And we could also talk about that as well. And I think holdovers are one of the most challenging but yet rewarding targets for striped bass, because you really do have to put in the time. You really don't want to go out there when your guides are freezing. So you're looking for that night, like that one night out of the entire 2 weeks that you have, and you're hoping that your time fits it. Like, there's so much that goes into holdover fishing.
Now, when you say holdover, just for the people that are maybe not familiar with it, so these are not technically. So these are not fish that are migrating up Hudson or Chesapeake, right? These fish stay in that general area all year round? In the winter months, I assume.
Yeah, in the winter months. So I think there's a lot of theories that go into place here. I think a lot of these fish, what ends up happening is these fish will move into the river systems. And river systems throughout the season, you get a lot of bunker in there. You'll get the spearing. You'll get eels. You'll get herring. They are life, like they congregate a lot of life at all times of the year. And what ends up happening is these bass get so used to coming to these river mouths and moving up the rivers to, feed on them, that before you know it, it's already winter. So they're holding over and getting adapted to this type of, environment for themselves with the cold water, the brackish water, incoming tides, outgoing tides. And these fish it's not that they got stuck there. It's just that there's enough food to keep them there throughout the entire winter. And it doesn't.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. But now, how does the cold versus warm winter plays on this situation? Because, some of the rivers might freeze. I assume so, right? In some areas?
And sometimes. When we're talking sub-zero
does it
degree,
affect fishing? Or do you become an ice fisherman then?
Well, yeah. There's. It's funny you mentioned that because there's two winters that come to mind. The winter of 2012 was the year that we had the snowstorm that dumped about 13 inches of snow a day before Halloween. That was a very mild winter. I think that was 2012. Could have been 2010. That actually. Back then is when I was actually fishing a different area. It's when I lived in Connecticut. And that river system, after that particular warm winter, that was a winter where I don't even think we saw snow other than that first storm in October. And it was a very mild winter. I remember the water temperatures were up. Everything was up. I was seeing bunker all season long, all winter. And, that was the last time I actually had a decent holdover bite in that particular river. And, a lot of people are going to be tuning in. They're going to be able to figure it out just by the conversation that we're having. But it hasn't never recovered since that warm water. And I don't know if it's necessarily the environmental aspect or if it will happen to do with some testing downriver that took place. But since that date, it's probably been 10 or 12 years at this point. It has never fully recovered to what its full potential was. And it was sad to see that go away. Now, other rivers that I have fished in other bays on the warm water, it wasn't affected. So I think the information that I have in my experience might be a little skewed. I think it was some exterior factors. I talked to the DEP, DEM, the environmental protection guys, and they said it was poachers. And I see them doing an impact on that fishery. I just can't see them wiping that out based on what I saw, unless they had gill nets in there at night.
Right.
I don't think that was happening from what I saw. And having these warm winters, it actually presents a lot of opportunity. That's what you asked. Like, how does the warm weather impact the fishing? I think it's just creates more opportunity and more time for you to get out, put in your time, do some research, do a little networking with a lot of your friends and see what they have to say and what they've heard and what their friends are saying, because it is kind of a tough fishery to figure out. And when you do figure it out, it is so rewarding because there are nights that you are out on the water. It's 32 degrees out, 33 degrees. You got a slight wind, 10 to 15, basically out of the south or southwest at most nights. And, it could be a little cutting out there, depending, because you're going to get the gust this time of year too with no leaves on the trees. We all know what that's like. And, you get that one bite, that one fish, and it's like your entire hour travel was worth it, because that's what fishing's about. Like, you're out there, you just want to get that one bite, that one opportunity. And then other nights.
I agree. I have a aversion to cold, and this is what I was talking to you before we start podcast. About 15 years ago, even maybe more, I was on the job on Queens West in Manhattan, and I had a frostbite on the job because the job was so cold. There was no skin on the building, and I got really bad frostbite on my toes. I went to the doctor. The doctor's like, there's nothing you can do about that. That's just, it's going to go away. Well, guess what? I got sent to an outside job last week. I have never in 52 years of my life been in this much discomfort. My toes hurt so bad. They are swollen like little plums. I cannot, if I put a sheet in of when I go to sleep on my toes, the pain is incredible. So my point is I don't do well with cold. So I do have an issue with fishing. My fingers hurt where to the point of tears in November. So I don't fish late. Same thing, frostbite on my fingers. So I've never really got into this winter fishery as hard, except on the years where it has been mild. So when you mention like 30 degrees and wind, that, boys, on a job that feels awful. On a river that feels even worse. The shears right through you. But now let's start from the beginning. Is there a special tackle for this type of fishing, like or gear? Like obviously, you would dress up a little warmer than you normally would for regular fishing, I assume.
Yeah, so like the gear, you're looking at neoprene waders, 100%,
Okay.
either 3 or 5 millimeter. I mean, let's think smart about this. You're going to be out there for 3 or 4 hours. You're going to be wading in the water. I tend to double and triple up on socks because when you're out there, depending on your movement, you're going to pick 1 or 2 spots. And, if the first 2 spots aren't picking out, you got to make a decision. Am I going to walk or am I not? Or am I just going to fan this out? And that's a decision you have to make. But double up and triple up on socks. I think it's important to make sure all your shirts that you wear, I wear probably like 3 or 4 shirts with a hoodie on top of it, on top of a Guy Cotton windproof surf jacket that I have. And I make sure everything's tucked in. I think that's important, making sure that, your T-shirts are tucked in, because any loose area on that is going to create an avenue for cold air to get in. You just really like you're going skiing, but the problem with it is you're not moving around as much because you're weight fishing. So just bundle up, wear double pants, wear a pair of sweatpants over a pair of jeans, and then you put on your neoprene waders. And as for your hands, let's just hope you catch a fish and you get some adrenaline going. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Then everything goes away. Oh,
yeah, everything goes away.
Yeah. Well, here's a funny story. First trip 2 years ago in April, because I usually start in April down Little Neck here in Long Island, and my friend Ray was like, "I'm not going there. There's too many guys there fishing. Let's go on another spot." So we went to another spot that we weren't supposed to be, but we went over the fence. I get into the car, put my waders on, and I realize I don't have my jacket, right? I'm not driving home now 45 minutes to get my jacket. I'll be fine. What's going to happen to me? 10 feet in, I slip off the rock. I fall in the water. It's like 40 degrees. My waders fill in with water. That was it. First trip of the year done before making the first cast. So I'm 50 years old and I still do stupid shit. So, guys, listen to me. Don't do stupid shit. Listen to Joe, okay? Get dressed up.
Listen to Zeno's experience.
Tell me about the tackle. I mean, these fish are not. You're not. I'm not going to say you're not targeting larger fish, but I assume that most of the fish are going to be on a smaller, larger, rather than bigger size.
Yeah. So realistically for these fish, you're looking at your early season setup, right?
Right.
You can go 7 foot, 7, 6, 8 foot rods.
Yeah, but you're going to lose some distance then.
You're going to lose some distance, but most of the places you're not going to necessarily need that distance. And the lures that you're going to be using are your minnow plugs, soft plastics, your short little fat stubby ones, your long narrow baits. And your weight class is going to be traditionally less than 1 ounce and basically in the 1/2 and 3/4 ounce range. So if you're thinking about this fishery, these fish are pretty lethargic, right? It's cold. The water's cold.
Right.
So your average fish size is going to be anywhere from like 20 inches. And I would say 20 to 33 inches. That would be your average. And on a good fish night, you could break 40 inches. It happens often, but you're putting in time for that. I mean, not to say you don't go out for your first time and boom, I get a 40-inch fish. But you're looking at like 28 to 33 inches. And that's a quality bass. I know a lot of people use the slot size but that's a quality bass to
I agree.
be hooking into at any time of the year. I mean,
I agree. Yeah, especially for a holdover. But that's a good for me. That's a decent fish any time of the year.
yeah,
I'll catch a 40-inch fish all day long. That's fine with that.
as long as I catch a fish, I'm happy most of the
Yeah.
time. I'm to the point where I'm, what am I, 42 now? I don't really have the luxury with 3 kids, Zeno, to like
Yeah,
be
I
like,
know.
oh
I
yeah,
see
we're
the
gonna go
picture
on this
behind you.
day, everything. Like I look at the thing, I'm like, I'm going fishing tonight. I don't know what the moon is. I don't know what the tides are. I'm figuring that out on the ride down, hoping I don't kill somebody looking at all the stuff. Or then I get down there, I'm like, all right, what's my game plan? As long as I have a couple of lures that I know are been proven over the years, my confidence grows while I'm on the water. You know, I know a bunch of my buddies. I talk to Toby Lapinski often, probably once a week or once every 2 weeks. And he's got some skill behind him. He just puts in all the detail and he plans it all out. And I'm like, I don't have time for that. Like, I just go fishing and I figure it out right there.
I when my kids were small, I was the same. I just drove down and then I figured out where to go. I literally did because I didn't have the time.
That's all you can do. That's all you can do. So
now, how do you find these spots? Where are you looking for specific structure? Is it like the shallow water that warms up during the day, like it is in the spring, or is it a current thing? Is it a bait thing? What is it that makes these productive spots, not particular spots? I don't want to know about particular spots, but what makes it a good holdover spot?
So I think obviously it has to have brackish water. We're not in Alabama where they have the holdover, like the reservoir stripers that they have down there.
Right.
So obviously brackish water. And what I tend to find, and through my experiences, when you get into the brackish water, your chances increase versus being at
that narrows it down to area to quite a bit.
It does. The brackish water does help. At that point, you know, if I'm looking at if I'm trying to find a new spot, and having moved to Massachusetts, I've had to do that a few different times. And I actually enjoy that. I think that's the best part about fishing is like research and development and trying to find new areas. If I'm looking at my Navionics app, I'm looking for like 3 to 5 feet of water that has a sudden drop off so that those fish can hang on that drop off, because I know that in that brackish water, and I've seen this at the places that I'm fishing now, you're going to see a lot of bait that you didn't think was around in the middle of January or December or February. I've already seen glass eels. I've seen herring already, mummy chubs, obviously, spearing, white perch. If you're in the area of white perch, you're probably in the area of striped bass. That's a number one food source for them during the wintertime, especially the bigger ones. And I would look for brackish water slopes on your Navionics. And if you have any experience with river fishing or trout fishing back in the day, like I know I grew up trout fishing, so fish along eddies, like where the water slows and increases, you're going to tend to pick up fish there. And that's a good place probably to throw a minnow plug in the middle of wintertime. You'll be able to get them. And look for rivers off of rivers. That tends to be something to keep an eye out for. I mean, if that's really going to put anybody in a general area if they're willing to put in a little bit extra time. And I think that'll definitely help them out. And I think at that point, you just got to do a little walking. It's okay to walk. Get some exercise. We're all eating cupcakes and everything else during the day and not really walking around as much as we probably should be. Get out there and walk around. Throw a search bait. Throw a little soft plastic. Change the color up. Change the jig head up. You don't want to be dragging bottom because then you're going to be losing gear.
Yeah. I think you'd rather have a guy catch a fish on your plug and then call you and want to order 50 than losing a jig and then going to the store and buying a replacement. So you want a repeat customer. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
I agree with that 100%. So fan casting is something that you do. Is that what you're fond of, or are you fond of just finding a spot and not moving from it and just like, this is my spot, they have to be here?
It depends on how cold it is, you know. If I want to, usually in the dead of winter time, I'll probably pick up 2 or 3 spots on my radar, and I'll give each one about an hour and a half. right? Or whatever the time is that it allows me. So I'll break it up evenly. And depending on where I'm traveling to, I'll stick the first one out for that time frame. I'll do the fan casting at it. And what that is you're really, once you understand the location and you have a general idea of what the bottom structure is like and where those fish have reacted to your lures prior, it's important to fan cast because those fish might be staging up 30 or 40 feet, might be staging back an extra 60 or 70 feet. So what you end up doing is you cast in one area. Say you're going to cast. So if I'm looking directly at you here, say this is 12 o'clock, I'll start fan casting at like 10:30, 11, 11:30, 12, and then so on and so forth, 12:30, 1, all the way until I get to, maybe 3 o'clock, depending on how I'm sitting on that water. And then I'll fan cast it back. So I'm probably putting in anywhere from maybe 7, 14 casts total. And if I get nothing in that, the first thing I do is I'll change my lure over, right? I'll change the profile. So if I'm throwing a search bait like a swatter or something like that, I'll change it over and I'll go to a soft plastic. And I'll probably go to a short soft plastic because if you take a look at the minnow plug that I was just throwing, it's long and narrow. So I want to change the profile a little bit to see how they're going to react to a different look of a presentation. And then I'll continue to fan cast in the opposite direction. So what I'll do is I'll start down here, fan cast, 2:30 to 1:30, so on and so forth, and then all the way back. And if I don't get a reaction strike there or a bump or anything, I'll throw on a different type of soft plastic in a different color. And my colors I'm going to primarily stick with are like an olive, a white, and a black and silver flake. And I'll continuously do that. And I only really have maybe 4 or 5 different lures that I'll present in that time. So that's a lot of casts. So if you're talking 15 times 5, you're looking at like 75 casts. So that's your hour and a half, right? Maybe somewhere around there. And if I didn't get anything there, I make the choice. Do I feel like I'm going to stick it out? Did I see any extra bait in the water, like a little more glass eels, more mummy chubs? Did I see anything dimpling in the water? If not, at that point, I'm going to make an executive decision because I want to increase my chances of catching a fish because I drove an hour, I drove 2 hours, drove an hour and a half. So I want to be able to, take my expertise of what I've actually done in the past. And I find that sometimes moving is the better option instead of waiting there because you'll know that these fish are there relatively soon if they're stacked up because holdover bass tend to be stacked up more than spread out. So if you're not getting them in your lure rotation and fan casting, I highly recommend picking up and moving and going to another location.
Now, the water's cold, that we know, and the fish are sluggish. So how does this affect your retrieve, or if it does in any way comparable to what you do during the regular season when the water's warmer?
To be honest
I know you're not burning this shit like you do in the canal when they're chasing mackerel.
No, absolutely not. It's actually kind of funny because I always thought that slower was better. Like, because I started holdover fishing back in like 2000. I don't know. I was in my first stint in college. So probably 2001, 2002. I started holdover fishing. And there it was at that time, it was a lot of slower stuff. And what I've come to recently find is that, throwing a search bait like a minnow style plug, you can burn it like you are in the spring, like in the early spring in that April style. Those fish, if they see it, they're going to aggressively smoke it and you're going to get tight on them. So I highly recommend like changing up your speed. I always say lean on the caution and on the error side and go slower the better. But don't be afraid to throw in that fan cast situation a couple of moderate cranks because I'm burning a 100 and I'm cranking like this,
Right.
So, but it's 100, so you're not really getting the line.
Yeah. It needs to crank a little faster, right?
Yeah, the new ones have a great pickup, but the older ones are a little slower. on the VS.
Is there a primary bait that makes a big difference this time of the year, if you have it or not?
It does and it doesn't. I think it's making sure that you have a presentation with you. I mean, I'm not saying bring your entire August, September, like bint in the back of your car, plugs hanging out.
Bring everything that Joe Bags makes. Just go to his website, buy a whole store, and just bring it to the river.
Yeah, I mean, I always, you know what it is? I get a lot of messages, and I don't burn any spots. It's just part of my policy and our company's policy. I think it's important to make sure that if your customers have questions, like I just want to get to them, and I'm very quick to help them out in the best way possible. And I always say start with the soft plastics, because soft plastics usually guarantee you holdover bass. If you take a look at the internet today, basically everyone is throwing some sort of soft plastic, whether it be a small soft plastic. And I think the new trend is everyone's starting to throw the bigger ones, which is exciting. And I remember doing that back when I used to fish the Thames River. I think Sebi. I used to fish with Sebi.
Oh yeah.
We actually had a moment over there we called it Behind the Arc. And it was one of the little estuaries that popped up off the harbor there. And this night we were throwing, this is before Joe Bag's Tackle ever started too. We were throwing rig sluggos, like the pre-rig that Herb put together, and they were out there, the 9-inch ones. And there was like a guardrail, probably about 20 feet from the actual riverbank. And it was so stacked up in that little river channel right there that we were throwing behind our backs. Like we were like this behind our backs and reeling like this. And then we get the hit, we'd set the hook this way. And we'd have to reel.
And then you get it hooked in your head when you miss it.
Well, when you're 19, 20, 22 years old, I mean, does that even cross your mind? No, of course not.
Nope.
So we were laughing for hours catching fish to like 35 inches. And it was just one of those nights where those fish had stacked up. And now we didn't keep fish. I've never been a big fan of keeping striped bass. There's other better eating fish out there, in my opinion. And I mean, we just bailed bass after bass after bass, and it was just absolutely an amazing night. And if I see Sebi, we still talk about that. We just go behind the arc and we're like, yeah, one of the best nights we had. And I think that was actually in the middle of February.
Does anything change the bite when you find it, like maybe a cold wind or storm, or as it does during the season? Is this noticeable with holdovers, or do you have to just give them some time and think settle down as they were? I
think any storm is going to really mess with the fishing. From what
that's what I mean. Yeah, it's hard really not to say the storm's not going to make a mess out of your spot.
I think when you get those like cold snaps, I think the fish just become lethargic, and I kind of saw that already. And one of the experiences I've had with that was actually recently when I was down in the Keys fishing. They got blasted by like 30-degree weather down there, and they haven't seen that in years. And I think we arrived 2 days after that, and the fishing just shut off. Like you couldn't even. You
should have brought some jackets. You could have been a millionaire. None of them have jackets over there.
Exactly. I asked them if I asked a bunch of people. If
I've done the same thing with my son. We went down there in April. It was like cold freeze, and all the snooks were floating in the docks, and the guys were like, I don't have a jacket. I don't own a jacket. I live in a Key West. Why would I own a jacket? I'm like, okay, dude, I envy you, but whatever. Go ahead, finish your story.
You got to have a jacket. No, I mean, So getting back to cold weather stripers, and I think how fish in general just react to cold weather is that water temperature drop from summertime temperature all the way down to winter temperature in a matter of 2 to 3 days. And those fish shut down. But as the week progressed, you started hearing 1 or 2 more pops a night. And then by the last night I was there, and of course it's by last night I'm there, the fish are going crazy, and they're popping, and the water temperature, they've gotten used to it. Their body's like, oh, it's all right. It's wintertime. I still got to eat. And the bait came back in. So getting back to cold temperature with like these holdover bass, I do think it shuts them down for a period of time. And it doesn't mean that they're going to be shut down forever. I don't think fish need to eat as much in the wintertime to keep up with their energy because of how cold the water is, since they are cold-blooded creatures. But that doesn't mean that they're going to pass up an opportunity at an easy bait that looks like, oh, I could eat that real quick and then I'm going to, be fine for the next 3 or 4 days. So I do think cold weather shuts them down, but it doesn't mean you should automatically stop, because I could be proven wrong at any given point, any given Sunday out there. Like, oh, we just had a cold snap. Joe Baggs said that. But I went out there and I smoked them. So I think it really just depends on, location and if those fish have fed recently too. So.
Well, I find there's no guarantee in anything. I'm sorry. I that things like, well, you said this, you said that. Look, that's based on a previous experience. If I knew what the future is going to bring, I would have bought Amazon stock about 20 years ago, and somebody else will be doing this podcast, and I've been in Costa Rica somewhere fishing. Okay, that's just not what happens. We tried to.
I should have bought.
We try to. I know. We try to do based on our own, best experiences that we had. And, consequently, since we're talking about the cold snaps, does the warmer periods during the winter affect the fishing in any way? Because I got to kind of ask that, because, that's just the flip side of this argument.
Yeah, it's a follow-up. I honestly think it just creates more opportunity for anglers to get out there.
To get out, yeah.
So I think that if it's a warmer winter, I think the fishing is going to be better, not necessarily because the fish are going to be biting, but I think that there's just going to be more anglers inclined to go fishing. And then at that point, they're probably more motivated. They've gotten some other previous reports, and I think the fishing is just going to continue on. I do think cold snaps do slow things down for a day or two, but I don't think it shuts it off completely.
Now, is there a way to target larger fish in holdovers, or is it really just kind of find the fish and then try to cull it? Because I think just trying to find a bigger fish would be a difficult prospect for the holdover itself. It's just a small sample of population of striped bass. I'm not, you know what I'm saying? You're fishing in June. You're fishing the Chesapeake School. Right now, you're fishing a very, very tight spot. You kind of want to find them first and then maybe try to target the bigger fish. So am I on the right track here? I
think you are. I think you just jumped from 100 level to like a 200 or 300 level course in understanding how to wean out the schoolies compared to, a bigger bass. And it's not to say that your traditional gear, your small gear, is not going to catch one. I think I was out fishing the other day and I was throwing, I don't know, what was I throwing? I was throwing a Patriot fish, and I ended up with like a bass that was probably like 38 or 39 inches, right? But like I was saying earlier, there's a trend where people are starting to throw the bigger plastics. And back when we were fishing in Norwich with Sebi, prior to that occasion, we were throwing a bunch of 5-inch Zoom super flukes, right? That's what was working. That was all we knew. It was affordable at that time when you're broke. And what ended up happening was, like, you kind of get bored catching smaller fish, at least in my experience. Like, I love catching fish, but catching 10 or 15 smaller ones, you kind of start thinking to yourself going, hey, how do I get a bigger one, right? I mean, isn't that the goal? Like, you found the fish, pat yourself on the back, you put the time in to get there. But now you want to jump it up. You just want to be like, all right, I'll throw this 9-inch soft plastic, and I'll throw this and I'll fan cast it. And then all of a sudden on your second cast, you get bumped. Now your excitement, the blood starts pumping. You're like, dude, that was a bigger fish. Like, you could tell by the hit on the bait that it was bigger. You're like, why did I miss that? So then you do 2 quick short fan casts in the same area. And then next thing you know, that fish comes back and smokes you. And you, instead of catching your 20 to 24-inch fish, now you have the excitement. You have a 35-inch bass laying at the side of you in some brown, dirty water, brackish, and you're like, it's the middle of January, and I just caught a 35-inch bass on an 8 or a 9-inch bait. And to me, that's like your 200 or 300 level. Like, you've already been there, you've put in your time, and now you're trying to learn how to get to that extra excitement that you might have lost with the smaller fish. And you're just working on your experience while you're out there. And, having caught hundreds, if not thousands of stripers, I get excited every single time, but there's something exciting about figuring out something new. Even if I take one step over, that's a new spot to me. That's how I think. I'm like, that's a whole new location. I just figured that one spot out. And that's the mindset that I have when I go out like hunting for finding new locations. Every stop, every spot, every location, every tide matters to pick up a little bit of information so you can get a competitive advantage to win.
Are you still, to change the subject for a second, you still use eels on jig heads?
I don't know if I can say.
Is that not allowed?
I don't know if you're allowed to. It's such a gray area topic.
Wait a minute. I didn't even realize that. Hold on a second. You're only supposed to use the circle hooks on bait? Is that what it is? I don't pay
It's
attention.
a gray area. I've had the conversation. I've had the conversation with DEP, or the Environmental Protection, and the feedback I've gotten from it has been, we're not gonna come after you for that. Like they know you're just taking a dead eel and jigging it. It's technically probably
using as a lure.
As a lure, right?
You know what? I listened to your podcast that you recorded a few years ago. I maybe with Seven whatever. I don't remember the name.
Seven Stripes.
Seven Stripes. Yeah, it was very good. And I try to do my research before I speak to someone. And I know you were talking about that quite a bit. And that's why I'm asking. I honestly haven't even given a thought of if that would be a circle hook versus the jig head. Jesus Christ. I mean, God, areas that we got to worry about these days. I didn't even. So yeah, I apologize. It's not, that wasn't my intention, but wow, that is a curious question that we don't have a straight answer to. That's for sure.
No, it's not a straight answer, but I also don't, I'll be honest with you. When people always ask me early on in the Joe Bags era, is they said, "Oh, what did I guess a common question is,
claim to fame.
What do you catch your biggest fish on? Like, what do people catch the biggest fish on?" And I'm like, to be honest with you, it's always been the jig deal. It has always been the jig deal. It is 100% hands down. If people, I don't know how I should word this. If you are willing to put in the time to learn how to use a jig deal, like you would use a jig soft plastic, you're going to outfish everyone near you. And that's just proven because you're able to have full control over a natural bait in a natural presentation. And those bass are going to be able to feed on it versus like a soft plastic that has, different wiggles and different movements. That eel just has that natural flow. You're really going to create some big fish to come out of those holes. And you're going to be really, really excited if you get into jig deals. That's all I can say. I can't guide you to say that that's the legal now. I know it's a gray area. From what I heard, they're not really.
Right. I didn't even know until this question came up I knew now that I asked the stupid question, but I honestly didn't even consider it because I don't use them on a jig. I use them rigged as is. So I never really considered that to be. But now, I'm saying to myself, okay, wait a minute. So if you're going to use a jig and a spearing for fluke, now we got issues. You need to be a circle hook.
I don't think so. I think.
Think about it, right? If you're going to use a bucktail with a strip of squid, now you're going to have to use a circle hook. It's silliness.
I get it.
I'm not getting into this. This is ridiculous.
No, trust me. I get it. I think you're targeting. I think that they kind of like. I think it was at a good place in time to get the transition.
Oh no! I think there's a good reason behind it. Absolutely.
But I don't think you should be targeting guys like us when
it's meant for a bunker to get swallowed, so he doesn't get swallowed the whole hook with it down the stomach and all that.
Exactly.
I get that. I get why it was a design. It's just that sometimes these things come up and they're not clear to everyone. You know what? My curiosity is more: how the hell did you start Joe Bags, and what was behind the ideas? Like how did you start this thing? How did you start your own brand? That to me, the business is always the most fascinating part for myself. Anyway.
So Joe Bags actually started when I was like a sophomore in high school. It was a nickname that I got.
Right.
The story is what it is. But then it carried on to college, and then next thing you know, I was working full time in sales, whether it be insurance or copiers or life safety, sprinkler systems, all that good stuff. And I could never my fishing just advanced to the point where like I was fishing a lot of deep water, a lot of current, a lot of structure, and I kept on coming up short with what was on the market, hook wise and design wise for what I was looking to have done. And I got to thinking, and I saw like an Andres bucktail, like which was a staple in our industry since like the 70s.
It is. It's right? A Montauk staple, but it's staple for shallow water. And the whole point is a thick bucktail is not to hang up on the bottom. That's not exactly what you were looking for.
No. And I was looking for a jig head to fit soft plastics that were, oversized, a little bit bigger. And I needed a stout hook. And, sometimes I didn't have super glue on me. So I had to come up with some sort of like collar design to hold these plastics on these jig heads. And that's where the SPJ, and we really started with the SPJ, the soft plastic jigs, and the bullet bucktail with eyes. And you remember all that bucktail craziness with all the local companies going
I do
on.
remember, yeah.
It was a lot of fun watching that. I mean, I was on the side. I was antagonized. I was like poking the bear on both of those guys. And next thing you know, the SPJ and the bucktails took off. I got laid off from work, and I had to make a decision. And my wife was like, you just haven't been happy in the last like 3 or 4 years with these sales positions. She's like, why don't you just try, 1 year of doing Joe bags? And I was like, all right, I have the experience. So, and people seem to like it. When you start off with new business, your confidence isn't there yet. And like you're gun ho about it. You're gun ho about it, but your confidence isn't there yet. Because like it's really when you can make it or break it. And I see it happen all the time. And I just went for it. And I had 2 kids at the time. She was working, and she was really the breadwinner at the time. And I just went for it. I was sitting in my basement till like 12 o'clock at night, tying bucktails, pouring lead, cleaning the stuff, packaging it, just getting the brand out there. And I think just the name Joe Bags really helped out. It was really catchy. It was clingy. I think that helped out. And I had a lot of good friends that were good fishermen that were willing to not necessarily like promote it, but like if somebody asked, they were like, yeah, I would definitely recommend Joe Bags. And one thing led to the next, and we came out with plastics, and we modified them, and we changed them. Then we came out with the swatter, which was, I honestly love that lure. And now we're into like all type, like we're trying to be all around, so our tackle shops and our audience can actually have a quality homemade selection, home design selection for lures, especially here in the Northeast and in other areas of the country.
Well, the reason a lot of guys that you say were recommending your stuff is not only because they are good friends, because you're a good guy, and people tend to appreciate good people. That's one thing. No problem. I've seen you over the years. I know what you're about, and we always like to have good people around us. So. It's a lot easier to recommend person that who the person is than just a brand, because a lot of people make similar stuff. This swatter thing, was very interesting, still is. Like, how the hell did you come up with that idea? Like, what was the idea behind that?
So there was actually a product that was already like released years ago, like probably like 15 years ago, and I looked at it, and it always failed because there was nothing like to it. Nobody pushed it. And I got my hands on some, and I tried it, and I said, this just needs to be modified. The design, the wiggle on it was perfect for what I was looking to have done. I mean, a lot of these plugs, they move like this. And I look at bait in their natural setting, and it's just subtle. It's just subtle. It's not big. It's not much movement. And I think like a bait fish, right? Like, that's how these fish are going to react to it. I mean, not to say like big plugs don't work. They do. But like when you're taking a look at a minnow lure, I'm looking at smaller bait. It's only in panic mode does it go at a big wiggle. And the swatter just needed to be through wired, and it needed it needed 2 sizes. It needed a 6 and it needed a 7-inch. And you just needed to modify the head of it a little bit so that it would dive a little deeper and hold true to its track. And the weight transfer in it is what I think makes a difference on it too. allowing it to cast. So to me,
that's a lot of shit, dude. I just thought it doesn't need anything to half a plug got changed.
Yeah, but but that's how that's
and the hook.
that's
I bet
the
you the hook
evolution.
got upgraded and all the other stuff.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I look at everything Joe Bags is. We get it out to the market. We get the feedback, positive, negative, and then I fish it, and then I'm like, nope, this got to get changed. This got to get changed. This got to get changed. Or like the skipper last year, I was supposed to come out with a topwater like dock type of lure, right? I scrapped that entire project, had it all ready to go, and I just wasn't happy with the way the product came out. And I was just like, I can't bring this out yet. It's just not ready. So we went back to the drawing board and we redesigned. I say we because I don't like the word I as much because it sounds too much self-absorbed. So we just we redesigned it, and it's going to be perfect for this year. But getting back to the swatter, I think it's a great little search bait. I've caught so many fish on it. It's easy to cast. It's easy to reel. I think you might not feel it as you're reeling as much. I always say if you're feeling it wiggle, you're probably working it a little bit too fast. But once you figure out how to work this lure, and it doesn't take much, like there's a lot of success behind it. And I think that's important.
What is somebody who manufactures plugs and fishes quite a bit, or whatever chance your kids let you? What's your favorite color, just out of curiosity?
Day or night, Zeno, day or night?
Give me one for one. I mean, give me some for day, then some for night, just out of curiosity.
For daytime, obviously it's bone. I don't know why. It's
Okay.
any bone. Yellow over white would probably be my second one. Maybe white, but for like a minnow plug, it would definitely be like bone or like a ghost type of color. At night, I've always been a big fan of blurple. I've always loved blurple. In soft plastics, that's for plugs. In soft plastics, can't go wrong with white during the day. And then at night, to be honest with you, black and silver flake is probably like one of my favorite colors that for an all-around time of year. And if I'm fishing channels in deep inlets, like the canal or say a breachway or some of the outflows that you have over there on Long Island and New Jersey, I would go with like an olive color. And you'll see that in our product line. I kind of just go with like, I know what works. It's through my experience. I'm not a flashy company. Like, I'm not like, here's 10 different colors. Like, let's do this. I'm like, no, I want you to catch fish. Like, that's how I am.
I was just going to ask is how much is that actually dependent on a match in the hatch, and how much is that depending on your self-confidence and particular color that worked for you before? Because for me, I don't care what bait is in the water. I am throwing whatever I have the most confidence in first. I'm not trying to match. I'm, in my head at least, I'm trying to be super confident when I'm throwing first, and then I'll worry about if it's a bunker or herring or whatever it is, I'll adjust later.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with you there. Just like whatever you have the confidence with, I would recommend starting with that particular lure, only because you've already thought about it on your way down to the road, like on way down to the fishing hole. You're on the road, right? What am I going to throw first? It's a thought that crosses your head while you're driving for X amount of time. You're like, what am I going to throw first? And it's usually the first one you pull out of your bag. You just throw it. And you work from there. I do believe that matching the hatch in certain situations does play a part.
Oh, I agree 100%.
But overall, I mean, there's times when you could throw in a bunker blitz, you could throw a sandio and catch the biggest bass. Just because I always believe throwing something different sometimes is actually kind of
First of all, everybody's curious with somebody else's favorite. Even if we're not going to do it, we all want to know. It's just one of those things. And second is, I just meant how important is confidence to me personally versus the color. I'll adjust if I'm not catching it after 3 casts and my buddy's slaughtering on green mackerel. I am switching to green mackerel.
I'm throwing green mackerel, yeah.
So what's your music thing when you're driving for that damn hour and a half or 2 hours? What's the music sound like in Joe Bag's car? It
can be anywhere from like, it's usually like 103.5 over here in Massachusetts in Rhode Island. And it's really just a combination of today's hits all the way to like the 80s. It's really just a mixed range. Like I don't have a particular, even though my wife would say that I'm really stuck on like the music, like all the small things like that Blink 182 style.
Yeah.
She would say, and the guys that have worked for me in the past have just been like, do you love that Blink 182 music? I'm like, I do. I that early 2000s skate rock, punk rock type of thing. Like I would say I'm more there, but well, any type of music that gets me thinking, gets my mind off of things, and gets my mind focused for the next 3 to 5 hours of fishing ahead. You know, it is what it is. It's music. You listen to whatever is going to make you happy, because it's your time now, right? Are you free? You're free. You're
absolutely.
free.
But here's something that's not relevant to fishing at all. So you probably never get asked this. Did you watch anything good lately or read anything good lately? Anything good on Netflix or whatever? I'm looking for something to watch. And I'm looking for you guys to recommend something like that I'm not good. So what's your latest fascinations? Tell me.
I'm a big sci-fi guy. So I like zombies. I like apocalyptic situations. Not
Somebody
that I'm like
told me something about some zombie thing on Apple TV or something recently.
There's one on Netflix. I forget the name of it. If you're into that type of thing, I think that's a very special personality that gets into it, like Star Trek, and I watch all that stuff. But if you're talking my household right now and what I'm watching on TV while the kids are on vacation, Wednesday. Have you if you're on? I think it's on Netflix.
It's on Netflix. I watched it.
Wednesday's actually. I thought it was good.
I'm not ashamed.
I thought it was good. I wasn't ashamed.
I'm not ashamed. I thought it was okay.
I thought it was a different spin
I
on
don't
it.
hate on it.
It had a different spin. She was that the entire detective role and like how she doesn't blink. I thought it was very well done, and it kept my kids are excited about the second series. I'm not gonna lie, I'm excited about it. I mean, let's be honest. Like if you can get your family together on one TV show, you take that opportunity. And
where I was gonna go, because I want you to go and thank your wife for keeping those 3 kids quiet. We went through an hour and I haven't heard a peep from those kids. So she is not only supportive to you in starting a business, but she's also a wonderful mother, I can tell.
100%.
Joe, where can people find more stuff about your brand?
JoeBagsOutdoors.com. That's the website. And any of your local tackle shops will probably have most of our stuff, especially from New Jersey all the way up to Massachusetts. Go visit them. We've all had a long winter. Get out there, talk to them, get more acquainted. It's a good time of year to pick up some small stuff, get ready in anticipation, and let's start talking some shop. Let's get back on the road of fishing. I know it's going to be cold the next couple of weeks, the next week or two. I think we got I actually have a snow. Hey,
cold front coming. Yeah,
we might actually have some snow, so I'm going to do a snow day giveaway on all our social media. So keep an eye out for that. I'll put a nice little package together, and everyone will get a chance to win on that particular giveaway. But yeah, visit your local shops. Visit us, however you see fit. Obviously, visit Surfcaster's Journal. They got a bunch of nice gear on there. So.
Thank you for spending an hour with us. And I know the guys are going to enjoy listening to this, because it's kind of fits the season that we're in. We're recording this in mid-February now, actually the end of February. By the time I edit this, it's going to be 6 months, but I'm just joking. I'll get it done by the weekend.
I don't think that's possible with you, Zeno. I don't think it's possible.
Yeah, the way I work, that's never going to work. But
they can take off 3 of your legs.
And week's over, I will take care of it. Thank you again for your time. And I really appreciate you taking the time to join me.
Always a pleasure, Zeno. Good seeing you. Thank you so much for having us on. And I look forward to seeing you at the shows. You going to any of them, by the way? You going to Ward?
I am going to Ward. Are you going to be there?
Yeah, I'll be there, yeah.
Yeah, that's a great show. That's coming up next Saturday. And then I think we're going to do the Jersey show. We're going to skip the Ricer this year for some reasons. And yeah, it's been a good season. We were just in Jersey last Saturday. Did the surf day.
That was a good turnout.
Yeah, were you there? I didn't see you.
I was honestly busy the entire time. It was crazy for me.
Yeah, it was a very good show. Good turnout, good people, good organization, good seminars. Great show for anybody that hasn't been to New Jersey Surf Day. or Strepidale on Long Island, but they really do a great job. So I always enjoy going to a show where there's a good crowd and I have no responsibilities, because when you're running a show, it's not in January when you're like scared it's gonna snow. So
yes,
hey, it's been it's been our winter here. I don't think we still got an inch of snow yet this winter.
I know it's been amazing, but I think next week that's all going to change. At least on it looks like, I don't know what it is for Long Island, but I know for us it's looking kind of snowy Monday into Wednesday. So I'm looking forward to
it doesn't matter. You already explained to everybody what's going to happen to holdovers, so everybody knows that by now. So no worries.
Yeah, just wait for that stuff to melt off.
Right back to the bike.
Get back out there. Bring some hand warmers.
Joe, get back to your kids. Go watch some Wednesday episodes with them. It was a pleasure as always.
As always, bud. I'll see you around.